right, it's 5:30, so we'll call to order the regular meeting of the Madison Central School District being held on Monday, March 12th at 5:30 p.m. Mr. Brooks will record the members present and the members that are absent. We do still have a quorum, so we'll proceed on to item number 4, which will be the Pledge of Allegiance. If all would stand and join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. There are no changes to the agenda, so the next item is item number 5. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Miller is the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Hanamichael with the second. Questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the agenda as posted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Declare that motion has passed. Item number 6 is the approval of our consent agenda, which are items 7 through 9. That includes our meeting minutes of our February 12th meeting. The financials, it was Rob and Sean and myself that went through those this evening, and I think everything was either answered or looked in good shape as we were going through those. So that takes us on to number 9 for personnel actions. Mr. Jorgensen?
See, we have a few actions tonight. Evan Finley, resignation for elementary teacher and middle school boys basketball coach. That will be effective at the end of the school year. Request to hire Heather Meehan, early childhood paraprofessional at $11.25 per hour, effective March 6th. A yearly event we have for reduction in force for the Title I teachers, Tamara Young, Kim Seitz, and Aaron Riedel. Based on notification for federal funding, which we should have hopefully before too long. And then request to hire, again, this would be for some of the early retirements. Jerica Thompson at $41,080, along with assistant varsity freshman volleyball. Michelle Stark, $53,250. Anna Hanson, $42,285, and Caitlin Glover, $41,200. Those would all be elementary. Sarah O'Donnell as middle school art teacher at $41,350, and these are all for next year. Austin Kestelut as high school VOAG teacher at $41,080, and FFA at $16,36. And Christian Hildebrandt as high school social studies teacher at $41,200.
So the recommendation of the administration is the approval of those personnel actions. With that, I entertain a motion on the consent items of the agenda, which are items 7 through 9.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Hanamichael. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Nelson. Further questions or discussion on the consent items? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the consent items signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Declare that those have been passed. Hearing of delegations, anyone wish to address the board this evening? Then we'll go on down to number 11, administrators report.
Yep, sure.
I got 3 things I thought I'd come in and visit with you about. This afternoon I went over to Dakota State. I met with Amy Kissinger, Dr. Jones. We are working on aligning dual credit where they actually are going to put the professors in-house at the high school. So we're working on trying to set up Math 102 and college speech to start with to get the ground set. So what we'll do is we're going to try and position them in our schedule so that everybody has the opportunity to come in and take those. Our plan is also to try and get CSC 105 in place. We've talked about a little bit about the opportunity of offering summer English 101 on campus to our kids at a dual credit rate. But I think the whole goal of this is to get our kids in front of college professors so that they experience that process and how that accountability works with a college class outside of an online component. I guess I've been pretty adamant all the way through that really Math 102 should be taught face-to-face, and that's our whole goal here, is to get it face-to-face. So our plan is to run the speech in the fall, and then the college algebra in the spring, so that the kids have time to take their ACT in the fall, so they can get that aligned. So we're well on our way in that process, which is good. The next thing, the state put out workforce ed grant money. You can get a maximum of $180,000. So when that came out, Mr. Jorgensen and I went over and met with Dr. Griffiths and Dr. Hansen, because the university has a partnership with Southeast Tech on the SD Pass program, which is all about workforce apprenticeships and things like that. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and write the grant to tie into the SD Pass, so you can get stackable certificates, get our kids experience out in the workforce world, but also get paid for that at the same time. It kind of is amazing how sometimes the stars align. The other day I got a phone call from a business member in our community that was in dire need of somebody to come in and help. Well, I actually have a kid that's pretty well done with their schooling and is looking for some work. So I was able to line this kid up with this person, and they're actually getting paid right now to go to work after first block on the opposite every other day. So they come in for their first block class and they go to work at 10 o'clock in the morning for the rest of the day. We're getting them workforce trained, getting some experience for them. So it's kind of a test case a little bit to see how it goes, but it's so far so good. And then next week on the 20th, we have a meeting with the president of STI in Sioux Falls to align all this together so that we can get everything submitted by the 26th. They did not give us a very long turnaround on this, but luckily we had written a grant previously for this, so we'll be able to mold what we've got going on and then hopefully extend from there. But right now we put about 50 plus kids on internship in a year, or actually a semester, excuse me. So what I'm hoping is maybe we can roll our internship back a little bit, even into their junior year potentially, so that those kids that are passionate about workforce, we can mold them from an internship into a paid apprenticeships. So we'll use, Yankton's done this, so I'll kind of use some of the stuff that they've done as we write the grant and move from there. And then the last thing I want to talk about, obviously Wednesday is the student walkout nationwide. I was approached by our student council and they want to have an active role in that, so I've been busy working with them about taking time to go through that process. We've aligned it with the police department, so we'll have 4 officers around the campus. It's a 17-minute deal. We're going to walk out the front door, around the campus to the back by the gymnastics center and back in the building. But we want to sell it to our kids that it's not about gun violence, it's about safe schools and getting kids help that need help, and if they see something, they got to say something so that we can help them. So we're taking a far more proactive role with this with the kids, and we want to make it sure it's done right. So I just wanted you guys to be aware that when it gets out in the media that this is what's going on. So I'm going to meet with the student body tomorrow morning at 8:20 and spend some time front loading things with them.
Wonderful.
Yep. So that's what's going on.
No bad news?
No, of course not.
Nothing to talk about.
Not an open session.
You said the student that's going after first block,
Yep.
what industry or what line, what's he doing?
He's working for Mike Johnson Construction.
Oh, perfect.
Mike was needing some help out at the gravel pit, and Mike said, I'll train him, and so he put him through about 12 to 15 hours of training, and it's not working for him. So, but, it's kind of a big deal. So, you know, but we've got a lot of opportunity in the community. I've had a lot of people approach me about apprenticeship stuff. Dr. Griffiths has done a nice job of kind of laying some groundwork for us in the community, so we'll kind of be able to mold into what she did. I did meet with Lori Gustav last week a little bit about first line funding. They've got some things going on, and so we're trying to tie into that if we can. So
Is there any history at the secondary level of academic credit for internships?
well, we provide academic credit for our internships. We provide them with half a credit.
Right, but I mean beyond that, I mean if they're working full-time, I mean, you know, at the collegiate setting, you can pick up quite a few. What's the cap now on internships, Rob?
Yeah, we haven't really gone too terribly far outside the box here, so
Okay.
it's been about the semester, they get a semester of internship,
Okay.
so this is gonna kind of go outside the box a little bit, which is okay, because that's our job, is to workforce train kids and get them ready for the real world. So this is a great opportunity if we can get some money to actually support what we're trying to get done. And even if we don't get the money, I think there's enough groundwork that we've laid with our community that we could probably get this up and running without it. But it would be nice to have the extra money to kind of, partner with businesses and maybe roll some things into education for kids outside when they're done. We can get them to get into a matching maybe with them, and hopefully we can help pay and then they can match it, put it in a fund for them, down the road, kind of do this concept.
Awesome.
DSU's been good to work with.
Very good. They've been outstanding, so really, really good. So we appreciate that.
How's the crafts trades been for home builders, plumbers, electricians? Are we getting much help from those guys?
It's hard to get those guys to the table because they're so busy.
Right.
But that would be my goal, is if we can get this in place, then my next step would be, okay, how are we gonna continue to formulate partnerships and move forward? But they're so busy, I can't hardly get them at the table. But guys, I do have some kids that are going on to plumbing and electrical, and so. So our hope is we can get them journeyman hours, if nothing else, once a year.
Any other questions of Mr. Shaw? Great news.
Awesome. All right. Back down. You bet.
Just a few things. The legislative session ended, and on the last day, just like normal, we found out what the funding would be for this year again. By statute, it should have been 1.7% increase. That was the CPI they chose. That didn't happen. If you remember when the governor's first budget address came out, he was proposing 0. I know appropriations was busy all session, finding different ways of trying to come up with some dollars. And then the revenue projection came in better as the session went on. But the final amount was 1% of ongoing funding, and then 0.7 would be in one-time dollars. It's our understanding, we're still waiting for all the clarification, but the one-time dollars will be this year. The 0.7 will show up actually this year. We've heard April already, but I guess we don't have that confirmed. But again, that's one time. It's not an ongoing funding source, it's just one-time dollars. The 1% is ongoing. And then the session just ended, March 26th is veto day. There's a few other bills out there that will have some impact on schools, whether they get signed into law or not, we'll wait and see, and then whether they end up being a veto issue or not. So once we get into April, we'll know what vetoes are did or didn't maybe take place, and we'll go from there. Congrats to our girls basketball team and coaches on their state runner-up performance, and also congrats to the cheerleading squad on their Spirit of Six award too. Very well deserved. Talent Ed that we've been using for online applications has been working really well. I said that last month, but it's still working really well. So we're glad that we made that move, and we're certainly getting a number of applicants on that. Last Wednesday, you're aware that we went to a perimeter secure. Our first action is always to make sure of the safety of the students, and we'll err on the side of caution. We tried to communicate as best we could, as soon as we could, with voicemails and with emails to go out at the same time. But it wasn't the situation we wanted to be in, but I do have to commend the law enforcement that was here working that day, because it was nice to see in communities like ours that they work together. It wasn't one group doing their thing and another group doing their thing. It was 3 entities all in one room, and they were talking, sharing. I mean, it was a team effort. So appreciate that, and it was great to see how they worked together to get to the end of the situation. And I do have a follow-up meeting tomorrow with Chief Meyer and Sheriff Wahlberg and SRO Gant. We'll be meeting just to go over the steps that we took, how we did it, would we do something different, how would we handle it. Hopefully we don't have to deal with it again, but if we do, we're going to review and see what we did, and again, try to learn from it and move forward. The last thing I'll throw out there is that our April meeting, we'll plan to meet in the elementary for April meeting. The bathroom project's done. And we'll take a tour of the facility then in April.
Mr. Brooks, you have anything you want to administratively report on? We have Dr. Cook's middle school report. I just want to publicly acknowledge the tremendous job Mr. Jorgensen and his staff did keeping us as a board and the entire community informed of what was going on Wednesday. I thought the communication from the district was phenomenal, and heard both from parents and other board people too, that we really appreciate the job that was done, so thank you very, very much for that. The only other thing, it appears that 0.7% isn't going to have any strings attached to it either. At one point in time, it appeared like there were going to be several strings that the state legislature might put onto that, but right now, the latest is that there doesn't appear to be anything. It's going to be that one-time money, and we'll have to determine as a board what and how we're going to work with that as it comes forward.
I will have one more thing, that the Department of Ed will be having 3 different sessions. I think one's in Rapid, one's in Aberdeen, one's in Mitchell, where they're going to come and they're going to go through the whole session on the bills that are now in place and requirements for schools, and a breakdown of the funding and the formula and so on. So, and I don't have those dates in front of me. I think it's coming up. It's either the end of March or early April.
And I will try to join the April 9th meeting by a phone. I'll be coming back from San Antonio, and we'll be sitting in the Atlanta airport at that point, at board meeting time. So, as will the other 4 board members be trying to find a spot to get back to their boards also on that. The national convention isn't necessarily planned on a good deal in that particular case, so. Get your gavel ready, Mrs. Sims. Get your gavel ready. All right. That concludes administrative reports. Ms. Carey, you're up.
This is our annual review of the comprehensive plan. It is the special ed plan for our district and also the co-op we belong to. There are no changes from last year. The rules are set out by the state. They're all outlined in the plan. And if you ever want to read it, it's in the superintendent's office. And it includes the referral process. Parents no longer want to have their child receive special ed, what we have to do paperwork-wise. A parent doesn't agree with our testing, what we have to do. Everything's outlined in there. And so it just goes through the whole process with what paperwork needs to be completed at every step of the way.
Okay.
And also, we were informed, last week I believe it was, we will be reviewed next year, which we thought we were going to anyway. And so they will review the comprehensive plan as part of that review from the state.
We've heard they kind of like doing ours. Is that
Yeah.
the truth to
I think
that?
it's
They're
about
always
time we
pretty
review
nice
that.
to them.
On that. All right, any questions on that?
So when you review next year, is it in the fall, is it the?
This year, they tried to get them done all of them done in the fall.
Okay.
So I'm assuming they will continue that practice. Then any corrections you have to make can be made in the spring. And get it done before the end of the school year, even though you do have a whole year to get them corrected.
So procedural question, we want to acknowledge receipt of the report, probably?
Accepting the plan.
Okay.
Approving the plan, yeah.
Okay, so the motion and the action we'll be taking is to accept the South Dakota Comprehensive Plan. So moved by Mr. Nelson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Sims. Further questions or discussion? Thank you, Paula, very much for shepherding that through. Further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of accepting the plan signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Item number 13, signage. Mr. Jorgensen.
I'll let Steve, pull it up, and then you go slide down, you have to rotate it too. You go, okay, there you go. Currently, we have one that's right on the corner out here. This will be putting, the top would be what it looks like once it's fully filled out. The bottom is how it would look to begin with. and it's basically for the auditorium, so that as they purchase seats, names will get added to it. What we have out there right now is almost identical, it would just go on the opposite side of it, and that's in the hallway, so this would be the Education Foundation wanting to put that signage up. So it would match the board that we have up there right now.
So it's just making sure there's one at each end of the hall?
It's not even at each end, because there's one right, as you go around the corner, there's one there, it would just be down the wall just a little bit from there. So they match, I guess is what I'm getting at.
And this has been an ongoing project since actually the beginning of the renovation, or at the same time we did the fundraising and the renovation. And this is just completing their acknowledgement phase. There's little nameplates on the chairs, but they thought they would maybe extend it further to get some additional support.
Oh, so this is an additional sign, it's not identical actually? It's
The
different
top is
names.
what it will look like when it's done.
Right.
It's like identical to.
It's pretty identical to the one that's out
Is
there.
it different donors though? I guess
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out why.
Yeah.
I'm confused. Okay.
It's ones that are just for the auditorium and just for the
Gotcha.
seating. Yeah.
Okay? So they're seeking approval to put that signage out into the area and recognize the donors who have and will participate in that. So recommendation would be to approve that, if we could have a motion and a second.
So,
Mrs. Sims makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Miller. Further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the signage for the Educational Foundation signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Item number 14, approve issuance of contracts for certified staff for the 2018-2019 school year. We're on the end of a 2-year agreement. This will be our second year of that agreement. So contracts are ready to be issued, and those would go out soon.
Yeah, so anyone we did not put in the personnel for non-renewed resignation or reduction in force would then issue a contract to, after this meeting.
Okay? And this requires our approval as a board to authorize those contracts, and it would all be according to the agreement that was negotiated a year ago. So I would entertain a motion for issuance of those contracts. So moved. Mr. Nelson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hanemichael. Would you ever think you'd be approving contracts for high school teachers, Rob? All right, further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the 2018-19 contracts for certified staff signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Declare the motion is passed. That takes us down to executive session unless the media has any questions that they'd like answered. Steve will be taking no action when we come out, so